Start with this because you've got a long tradition in the family of making homemade pies, haven't you?
Yeah, we have actually. If walk over here and I'll talk to you about our history.
Oh, he's taking me away. I'll see you
later.
So tell us a little bit more about how this all came about.
We started making pies something in the region of 20 years ago. Okay. And we've always emphasised the quality of a product. And what you see Marjorie doing now is hand rolling pastry, and we actually specialise in short crust, and it's so terribly important that the crust is as high a quality as the ingredients. It makes such an important contribution, and so Lime Tree pastry is immediately identifiable. It's unique, and it's what we strive to achieve. And why hasn't it been copied? Because we do what we say we do. We make the pastry and we roll the pastry by hand. Our pastry cannot be mechanically rolled. That's why it's a short, that's why it tastes as it does.
So what you're telling me is that every pie that you send out to a customer, every pie that somebody buys, is individually made?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And I think that's, I don't know whether it's unique in the pie world, but most certainly that's what Lime Tree Pantry do, and that's what Lime Tree Pantry have been doing for in excess of 20 years.
And that's interesting because when I buy, and also maybe people at home buy a pie from the store, can you actually, hand on your heart, guarantee, say that someone hand rolled that for you? Do you see what I mean? I don't think I can actually say I know that's the truth. But pies have got a quite nice history. As I know you mentioned earlier on, it's quite, people don't know, but there's quite a nice history behind the pie itself and how it came about.
About 600 or 700 years ago. I mean, when the UK or England was an agriculturally based country, there was no way of getting food to the field. And so the development of pastry, not quite as it is now, was the first basic way of putting ingredients into a holder or container and moving that product into the field in order that they could eat it at some time during the day.
So the pastry was the container to travel it in?
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's
and
a
it
lovely thing.
Didn't look or taste as it does now, but that's they are the beginning. That's the history of all different forms of pastry.
And when we talk about your pies, and I know we're going to be talking about all different types of pies, but you do savoury, you do all different types of ingredients. Let's talk a little bit about the ingredients as well, because I want people at home to know, I know we've been chatting beforehand, they're very, very important. For example, you do a beef and Guinness. Now, you see beef and Guinness pies all over the place. I've had beef and Guinness pies in pubs, and they've been nice, but I'm scrabbling around to try to find my meat to start with, you know,
yeah.
And the ingredients. I mean, why is it important to have good ingredients and sourcing good ingredients?
Well, I think from the customer's point of view, the customer needs to be aware that we are at Lime Tree looking after, basically, looking after them. And so we source locally, and you'll hear quite a lot about local sourcing, and it's very, very important. This means that we know where the meat comes from.
So you know specifically?
Oh, yes.
If I bought one of your pies with pork in, you know where that pork's come from?
Yes, we do. Yeah. It comes from Nottinghamshire, and it comes from a company called Elliott's. And the beef comes from 8 miles down the road at a place called Home Farm. And that's so important because we know where the cattle graze, we know how the cattle graze, and so we know how the beef is going to taste, and we know how the beef is hung, and we are in control of how the beef is cooked and then recipeed before it's put into a pie. All of these things are individually looked after by Lime Tree, and that's why our pies taste as they do.
So if you want to give your family sort of all the best ingredients and you want to give them best you possibly can, I have heard and I have done some research and talked to some people, and when you talk to people about Lime Tree Pantry, it's almost as if they look at you and say, you mean you haven't had a Lime Tree Pantry pie? I mean, I had 2 people said to me, you haven't had one? No, what's... And I have to be honest, well, no, it's pie's a pie, isn't it? Isn't a pie a pie? And they're almost looking at me like I've committed a murder. You know?
Yeah, well, I think don't we all sort of, I mean, have this sort of thought, this, who ate the pies? And the people that eat pies are depicted as fat, unhealthy people. And probably that doesn't do pie making a good deed, really. But if you look at a pie produced by Lime Tree, the ingredients are absolutely first class. We choose the best ingredients. We cook the ingredients properly. We use the right type of fats when we're cooking. So we use unsaturated. In fact, all of the fats that we use are vegetable. They're vegetarian, regardless of whether or not we're producing a savoury pie or a fruit pie. And so we're protecting the health of our customers. Not only that, we're looking at them and they're not as calorifically high as you would think.
No.
Again, the pie isn't treated very well by lots of food gurus, but we actually recipe pies. We don't cook the scrags of the meat and put what's left over into the pie. Our pies are recipeed, and hopefully we'll be talking about that as we proceed through the programme.